What's up, guys? So, as you know, as you've been watching this channel, following Football Manager stuff on Reddit and Twitter and other places, there's been a lot of talk lately about how important it is to get guys who have the right so-called meta attributes, especially, I would say, pace and acceleration in that order. Because if you have guys who are really fast, it can kind of break the game. Well, I'm going to show you something that I've discovered here. So we're going to go over here to the Football Manager editor. Look at that beautiful screen. We just loaded it, which means we'll load the 23.4 database. I know this isn't FM24, this is FM23, but this is kind of what we're looking at. We're going to look at over here players, and specifically we're going to take a look over here at the player attributes. We're going to do a little bit of a search here. So we want to look for players who have a certain amount of pace and anticipation. Let's see if I can do this here. So we go over here to attributes and pace. And we want them to have, I don't know, like say a pace of, what were we saying, like 17, right, would probably be good. Remember, it's out of 20. We also go here again to player attributes. And where is it? Acceleration is non-alphabetical order for some reason. And we want that at 17 as well. And then the other thing is, let's say that we want to look for players of a very specific position. In other words, we want to look at center backs, right? Let's see if we can find any center backs who have this type of attribute. So we click enter and we look at it, and guess what? We have one. So we have one person in the entire world who has a 17 or higher at pace and acceleration who's a center back, and that's going to be Tyler Maglior. So there you have it, right? This is kind of a problem, right? When we're talking about, oh, well, we need to have really, really fast players who are going to be able to, be center backs, who are going to have good pace and acceleration to stop guys and be able to keep up with those pacey strikers. The problem is there are like no really fast center backs. I mean, this is in all of FM23. I'm not loading any editor data or anything like that. And we can look over here at his player data and see like what his attributes actually are, right? So we look up the physical attributes. He has, 17 for acceleration and 18 for pace. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if this guy was one of the better center backs in the game. He's only 23 years old, probably will continue to get better. But the problem that we have is that like there's only one of him, right? So when it comes to like center backs and like the speed rating you want to get, I would say like if you have 16, this is probably one of the better center backs in the game. I mean, there's not a whole bunch of guys like this, and most of these are names that you know, like Nemandi Collins, right? Rafael Varane and guys like that. Like, I mean, this is like a really, really, really good player, right? This will help explain to me why in my Augsburg save I don't have center backs who are very fast. It's because they don't exist, right? 15-15 is probably a little bit more realistic, and you'll see there are quite a few more players like this. If I were going to give you advice on trying to pick up center backs in Football Manager, I would say you probably want to go for young players who have that 15-15 rating. Good heavens, especially if they're like 16. So if you're seeing a new gen who just came out, who has pace and acceleration of 15 each, or even 14 then 15, you want to acquire that player and then try your hardest through your training schedule to get the pace and acceleration to move up, right? That's probably your best bet, because chances are that you're not going to see a whole bunch of guys on the market who are at 17 or higher because they just don't exist, right? Now, if you see a player who, I don't know, is like 20, 21 years old, who's got pace and acceleration that are that high, guess what? You probably should like sign him right away. But you're not going to see a whole bunch of those guys around, right? I mean, this is just the way that it is. Even 15-15 is a relatively rare thing when you consider how many of these are star players that you're not going to wind up getting in the end. So there you have it. That's something to keep in mind, because what this tells us is that as many critics have said correctly, that elusive like 2020 center back doesn't exist. It just doesn't exist in Football Manager. That means that instead of going after a guy who doesn't exist, you really need to think a lot about your training, a lot about developing young players, and about ways to have guys in unusual positions be quick, while also playing their position to a reasonable ability to try to get that extra bonus that we have established works. I don't think it's impossible to have guys in the back who are extremely fast because of the way Football Manager's player development system works, but you need to keep this in mind, right? A lot of this is going to end up having to be done by yourself because they don't just exist by default in the game. So again, to like sum this up, I mean, if you're looking for center backs, I'd recommend getting guys who are maybe 15-15, or if they're a little bit younger, 14-15 or 15-14 for pace, acceleration. Get a guy like that and train him up instead of hoping that you're going to sign the miraculous like 18-18 center back, because it doesn't exist. Anyway, there you go. Let me know down below, like if you have any advice or anything else, if I said anything wrong, which happens a lot. Talk to you later. Bye.